Colonel Monroe, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the United States calls Lieutenant Commander Jack Hedrick Taylor to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you promise that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated, Commander Taylor. You may conduct your direct examination, Colonel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will you please state your name and rank for the court?
Jack Hedrick Taylor, Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy Reserve.
How long have you been a member of the Navy Reserve?
For about 17 years. I was initially commissioned as Lieutenant Junior Grade through ROTC. I was activated in December 1941.
What was your original duty assignment in the Reserve?
I was a dentist, specializing in orthodontics, as in my civilian life.
Commander Taylor, what is your current assignment?
I'm currently assigned to the JAG Special War Crimes Prosecution Unit, where I already testified at the Nuremberg War Crimes trials.
Is there any particular reason for this assignment?
Yes, sir. I was a POW, but was incarcerated by the Nazis at Mauthausen concentration camp. And now my assignment is to assist in the prosecution of Axis war criminals.
Before I ask you specific questions about your existence and conditions at Mauthausen, could you please tell the court a bit about yourself?
Yes, sir. My family moved from Kansas to California when I was 3. My father was a dentist in Hollywood. I decided to follow in his footsteps and received an undergraduate degree in biology. My postgraduate studies resulted in my matriculation from UCLA School of Dentistry. I then joined my dad's orthodontic practice.
How did you enter active military duty?
My unit was activated in December 1941, just a few days after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
You said that upon your activation, your duty assignment was as a dentist. Why did that change?
I requested a transfer to a combat unit. My request was approved, and I was stationed aboard a subchaser in the Pacific.
Why did you request a combat assignment instead of a dental position?
Due to my skills and abilities, I felt I could better serve the Navy and help the war effort.
Of what skills and abilities do you speak?
I'm experienced in navigating and sailing small and medium-sized boats, and am blessed with being an exceptional swimmer. I participated in 5 solo sailing runs from California to Hawaii, among other voyages. I hold a pilot license and have extensive experience in small arms and explosives.
When activated to military service, how was your health?
I was in great health. Very physically fit. Well, even though I was no spring chicken, I performed in the top 1% of the U.S. Navy fitness test.
Did you serve on the subchaser throughout the war?
No, sir. I was recruited by the OSS for assignment to a new specialized unit. I was stationed in a secret training location.
What is the OSS?
The Office of Strategic Services.
Could you please tell this court what your unit did and your duties?
The unit developed unique and specialized commando-style techniques and training for warfare. I was one of the first 3 sailors in the unit. We were trained in some conventional weaponry and tactics, but we developed our own. We constructed and tested underwater breathing apparatuses, developed combat swimming gear and tactics, and also worked out the details for combat assaults and explosives detonation.
Within the unit, did you and the other 2 sailors acquire a unique nickname?
Yes, sir. We became humorously referred to as Frogmen due to our appearance when wearing our specialized gear. When wearing our goggles and swim footwear known as fins, we resembled frogs.
What happened after your training was completed?
They shipped me out to Turkey in June of 1943. We had a base on the Mediterranean coast, and my unit was called the OSS Maritime Unit. I began to conduct secret missions either alone or with a very small team.
What did you do on these missions?
I sailed small watercraft from our base on the Mediterranean coast into enemy-controlled areas in Albania, Greece, and Yugoslavia. From the base, I would transport small arms, ammunitions, explosives, gold coins, and other items to the local resistance organizations. After offloading my cargo, I would generally take possession of whatever intelligence the partisans had available. Many times I not only delivered operatives onto enemy soil, but I also evacuated persons of importance. Navigational charts were available, but I couldn't mark on them. And I had no written details of any of the missions. I had to commit it all to memory in the event of capture.
How many of these missions did you conduct?
15.
How were you dressed during these missions?
I wore the United States Navy Officer Land Combat uniform with last name and rank insignia. It was hoped by all of us in the unit that if, God forbid, we were captured, we would be treated per the Geneva Conventions as prisoners of war and not summarily executed as spies.
Did you ever encounter enemy resistance?
A few firefights, but I sailed at night, and I was generally able to do so covertly.
After the 15 missions you mentioned, did you conduct more?
Yes, sir. One. In December of 1944.
What did that entail?
I parachuted behind enemy lines into Austria along with 3 Austrian nationals.
What was the purpose?
To obtain intelligence regarding the social, economic, and military situations in Austria, and to conduct sabotage if possible.
What happened on the Austrian mission, Commander Taylor?
We parachuted in with small arms, explosives, 2 radios, and some other provisions. During our drop, one of the radios was lost in the marsh and the other was damaged beyond repair. Consequently, we had no way to communicate with my base. We contacted a sympathetic Austrian who let us live in his barn.
After the loss of the radios, how did the scope of your mission change?
We continued to obtain intelligence but could not rely on any way to get it to base. I was able to use the explosives to partially destroy a rail yard and a fuel depot, among other targets.
What happened that ended the mission?
One of our Austrians began an intimate relationship with a local woman without much discretion. Her family found out and told the local police, who in turn passed along the information to the Gestapo. One morning while sleeping, the Gestapo entered the barn. We fought hand to hand for as long as we could, but were arrested.
Commander, were you wearing your U.S. Navy uniform when arrested?
Yes, sir. I wore it at all times.
Were you injured?
Yes, sir. I suffered torn ligaments and tendons in my right shoulder and broken ribs. I never received medical attention from the enemy. Not once.
Then what happened?
The Gestapo took me and the 3 partisans to their local headquarters where they beat and interrogated me for 3 days straight. The Gestapo, along with SS officers, escorted me out of their offices and placed me in a car. As I looked out the window, I saw an SS officer take his pistol out and kill the kneeling partisans by shooting them point blank in the head.
How long were you incarcerated as a POW?
Two months.
After 2 months, were you taken elsewhere?
Yes, sir. I was transported to Mauthausen concentration and death camp. There were various categories of prisoners there. Some were forced into heavy labor. All were warehoused like animals, and thousands were executed.
Why did they move you to Mauthausen and not keep you at the POW facility?
I don't know. When I arrived, the camp commandant had his SS troops forcibly rip the uniform from me. He said that I was an enemy of Germany, and I told him that I was a uniformed combatant, a lieutenant in the US Navy. And he said that that was impossible, as I was captured in the middle of Austria. I had been promoted to lieutenant at the secret training base and wore 2 bars. And he kept saying that they knew I was really a captain. Because of my insignia, they confused it with that of the Army.
Did you personally witness any atrocities by the SS or others under their command, or any members of the Nazi Party?
Yes, sir. Every second of every day. The SS would march prisoners to the edge of a rock quarry and push them over the edge. They fell 40 feet to their deaths. The SS would routinely shoot prisoners for no reason. The Jews suffered the worst and were singled out for systematic annihilation. And the SS would build gas chambers that were disguised as showers, and many prisoners were gassed to death. And through the windows, the SS would watch the Jews and all the others as they were dying, taking their last breath. They would even bring their families to watch these executions.
Earlier you said you never received medical attention for your injuries when you were captured. Did your health deteriorate during your incarceration?
Yeah, definitely. I suffered chronic pain from my shoulder injury. We were all fed what the SS called soup, which was really nothing more than water and just a hint of broth. I suffered from chronic diarrhea and was literally wasting away. I could barely function. I still tried to give medical assistance to the other prisoners, but many times I could barely stand. In Mauthausen, my weight dropped from a normal 170 pounds to 114.
Does the date April 25th, 1945 have any special significance for you?
Yes, sir. That evening, I was contacted by a camp clerk, a Czech, who told me that I had been scheduled to be executed earlier that afternoon. He told me that he had surreptitiously destroyed the commandant's written orders.
Did the clerk say why you were to be executed?
Yes, sir. The commandant and other SS camp staff officers feared that Germany was about to lose the war. They felt that they couldn't have me alive and able to testify against them. They saw this tribunal coming.
Did the clerk say why he destroyed the execution order?
Yes, sir. Because I am an American, and specifically a Navy officer, the world would accept my account over everyone else's.
Did the camp commandant discover you were not executed?
Oh, yes, sir. He ordered another execution.
How did you avoid that?
On May 5th, one day before, Mauthausen was liberated by United States Army.
Commander Taylor, do you recognize these ledgers and documents I am holding?
Yes, sir, I do. They are documentation of all the executions carried out at Mauthausen.
How do you recognize them?
The SS fled Mauthausen, relinquishing prison control to Austrian Nazi collaborators. I retrieved the ledgers and papers from the commandant's office, hid them, and then turned them over to U.S. Army intelligence officers.
Commander, at times this morning, it appears that you have favored your right shoulder.
It still gives me pain, and it completely limits my sphere of mobility.
Commander, were you awarded the Purple Heart?
Yes, sir.
What other awards have you received?
The Navy Cross.
I will have some more questions for you later concerning more specifics about the heinous activities of the Nazis, the SS, and their fellow conspirators. For now, Commander Taylor, I have just one more question for you. When you were imprisoned, did you ever try to get a message to the outside world about your imprisonment?
Yes, sir, I did. I assumed that no one knew I'd survived the Austrian mission. I was really afraid that my family thought that I was dead. So, whenever I could speak with someone who was leaving the camp, I would hope, and I would pray, that they could pass along only 4 words.
What 4 words?
Mauthausen, Jack, Taylor, lives.
I'm Lieutenant Senior Grade Jack H. Taylor, U.S. Navy, from Hollywood, California. Believe it or not, this is the first time I've ever been in the movies.